So yesterday I drove down to Laredo from Providence Village. It was a long drive, and Google Maps took me some weird way other than 35. It was a bunch of 2-lane roads, and I went through a couple towns, and then finally got down to San Antonio, where I hopped on to 35 and got in pretty late. I don't think I got a hotel room until 11 because the place that I've stayed at every other time I've come down here, I pulled up to the front desk, and leading up to today, I thought I won't need to make a reservation. I'll just get down there like I have the other 3 times I've come down here and just grab a room. Well, I roll up to this hotel, and there were 2 big old signs taped up to the door, said no vacancy. So I thought, okay, well, dang. So I found another place. Ended up being a good thing, I think. I found a place a little bit closer to the school, over near the airport, and one of the universities is over here. About the same price, much nicer. And I'm running a little late again because getting checked out of the hotel took forever. And I'm not gonna lie, I woke up late because I got in so late. I don't think I got in till 11 or something like that. So I'm about 5 minutes from the school. I'm not far. There's a little gas station that is on the corner over that way, so I'm gonna stop and grab like a jug of water and probably a coffee real quick. And I've already been in touch with the school, so they're really cool and very kind. That I'm a bit behind, and we're gonna get started today. A lot of advanced stuff is gonna get implemented this year with JB Alexander, and I'm excited to see how that turns out for them. We really did cram a lot of stuff into this synth cart. My goodness. 1, 2 modular snakes, wireless stuff. We're gonna clean this up here, and then we gotta get to the back of this. Okay. I think what we'll do is, I'll have you guys start by basically just don't touch anything in the rack space just yet. Leave all of that, but all the loose cables in the bottom here, let's go ahead and take it out. Yeah. We'll kind of rebuild this and kind of go from there. I need to take a look at the mixer cart, and then the backs of these things finally starting to get dirty.
Whatever's loose, that's not the thing.
Yeah, don't unplug anything from the rack. Leftover cabling. The mics are pointed the wrong way. Not bad. I think I did this setup like a 1.5 years ago. That's what I'm talking about. This is why I use zip ties. Got it. So yellow's coming in, going this way. Yellow, blue. Okay, cool. So yeah, I see what I did. So we're basically going to keep the cables. I'm going to go through and replace any loose zip ties. We'll redo the colored tape. But all of this cabling is done because the modular snake is right there. So no real big need to redo much of this at all other than those few things. Red, white, blue, yellow, same as always. Good morning, my friend. So good news. Good news, we're out here. I've been kind of looking at things. The good news is that the marimbas are pretty much wired up. I'm gonna redo some tape. We're not really worried about that, but that leaves me more time to focus on other things. The first thing I wanted to call you about is this interface, this Focusrite. It is the Clarett 8 Pre X, and as you can perhaps infer by the name, we only have 8 inputs. Yes. Now that being said, it does have optical in, so that means we could, I don't know if they have a preamp, I can look around, but if they have a preamp, we could probably hook that up through the ADAT in and have 8 more inputs to this thing. But I don't know if they've got any of those actual true mic pre's like the Presonus. Everybody uses the Presonus. So that's, yeah, exactly. So this is what I was calling, just to see what you want to do, because we've got 5 shotgun mics, and then the drum kit is going to be what, like 7, kick, snare, tom, overhead, and then the cart itself. I'm gonna text you a picture of this thing. It's 2 cool percussion, and it's fine. It's one of those things that it will work, but it's more of a quality of life thing for the guys here every day. That's kind of what, you know, I'm mostly concerned about, is their ability to not lose their minds every day. I don't know if we I don't know what we want to run into the interface. Like if the drum set's the most important thing, then I'll make room in the Behringer. So here's kind of what I'm thinking. So right now we have all 4 marimbas on their own modular snake. But with the introduction of the drum set to the middle, the back row is kind of split up now, and then we don't want to mic the xylophone. We're going to save a channel with that. So what I'm thinking we need to do is basically have those 2 vibes have their cables come forward. So we're going to have these 3 marimbas and those 2 vibes on a modular snake.
Okay.
So that'll go over to the synth cart. And then we're going to have marimba and vibe kind of jump over that way as well. I don't think we'll use a modular snake, but it depends on whether or not we have long enough cables to get those 3 mics all the way over there.
Yeah.
So basically we would have, you know, we'd have these 2 mics come this way, and we'd have the vibe mic come forward, and then we would do a bundle from here over that way, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a full snake, but a small bundle of cables. Again, it just depends on if we have enough long cables.
Is that also considering the drum set getting mic'd?
Drum set is going to be on its own. So
Okay.
drum set is probably going to need at least 6 channels, because you figure, especially with the pack that you emailed me,
Yeah.
I think it had 7 mics, which is kick, snare, 3 toms, 2 overheads.
Yeah.
And so that is going to go on its own mod snake. And again, it'll just do the same thing. It'll just go straight forward over. So that's why these 2 instruments would need to be on their own. This one and this one.
Right.
The S32 has 32 inputs. It's just a lot. We're almost close to maxing this thing out. And so the 5 would be the 5 wireless, and then 5 shotguns. We may have to change things around. So to get all the stuff that Kent wants to get into the computer, we may have to use the mixer cart as a synth cart and the synth cart as the mixer cart, which is a little weird.
Yeah.
But the idea here is that we use the X32 as the audio interface to go into the laptop. The problem then is, well, where do we plug the speakers in? Will it reach far enough? How do I get the output to that cart? And then your big gigantic power cable would have to come here, which wouldn't really work too well, I don't think. Or we'd have to swap some stuff out. So, bit of a puzzle to solve here, to do what our show designer would like, but we're going to figure it out. Sometimes this is part of the job. Okay, so we found a Digimax D8 by Presonus, which absolutely changes things, and so now we are on the hunt for a word clock cable. If I could get my camera correct here. Looking for a word clock cable and the actual ADAT optical cable. And that would probably prevent us from having to use the mixer as an audio interface. Never forget your power cables. Those are important. So that's one of 3 important cables. We're getting there. Getting close. So the question is, what is an ADAT cable? It has a weird shape, kind of like this. It's got these 2 little nub parts that come off the side, and it transmits light. So it's like an optical pipe where light travels through. And that is the cable that carries all of the audio data from these inputs. So we plug mics into this, and they get their gain turned up so we can hear them. And then that signal comes out the ADAT out to the ADAT in of this, which would be inputs 9 through 16 on the Focusrite. The word clock is used to keep the Digimax, the preamp, in sync with this. So because ADAT has a really fast transmission speed, or something of the sort basically, you have to keep the 2 devices in sync so that this is receiving basically in sync as this is transmitting, I guess, is sort of the right understand. I don't totally understand how it works, but I know that that's what we need.
Oh yeah.
I don't know all the science behind it off the top of my head, but that is the general premise of what we got to do. And we would basically go to 9 through 16 in, and that would give us 8 more. So we would have, you know, 5 for the shotguns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the wireless soloist, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the drum set. So we gotta fix this. This is the big deal. Going out to their massive line array stack, and I'm gonna solder this in. So I'm glad I have my soldering kit. Okay, got wet sponge. I've got a heated soldering iron, and most important, kids, goggles. I had a friend in college once who said, "Oh, I don't need to wear the goggles," and then got hot solder in his eye. So I don't mess with that. My soldering skills are not at expert level, but I know I'm supposed to do something like that first. Kind of wipe that off. Yeah, all right. So I know this is going to be kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can readjust the camera at all. Just get this nice and hot.
I think this will be the main zone for the, as a reference to go back.
For sure. Well, I got the soldering kit out and got this guy fixed, so it is easy to actually plug in and out now. Like, it's
Nice.
not an issue.
Perfect.
I'm gonna recolor code these and kind of get the colors redone so that it's fresh tape. And then I think some of the top units got unplugged for indoor season. Yeah. So we'll just get these plugged back in real quick.
Will we just unplug these?
Oh, gotcha. Okay. We'll plug them back in. There we go. This is still looking nice and
Yeah. Connect.
together. Now, you shouldn't have it just flat all the time. You guys are the only school I work with that has line arrays, so I don't really know all the angles, but I'm pretty sure there's software that we can use to figure out how they need to be angled for each show. The Alamo Dome obviously being the big one that we would want to adjust for. So that'll be something that you and I should be in touch with about throughout the year. For now, we might adjust them today just to kind of see what, you know, how the pins work and everything. But yeah, again, this is not a static thing, not a set it and forget it. It's just one of those things that like comes with having line arrays, is that to really get the most out of them, you want to, like, you know, step angle them correctly. But man, do they sound good.
Yeah, man. So great.
They do sound good. So the way
I don't want the building to lose power because these things lost their power.
building won't lose power. We're not going to crank it quite that hard. So in the back, they are still plugged into the cart.
Cool. That's my main concern.
But when you start going outside, don't forget you got to shift it over to the red box.
Yeah.
And that is going to have the Mondo power cable, the 30 amp, coming from your generator. And I know that generator has had issues. So one of the things we might do today, if you can, is get it out and just fire it up outside.
Yeah.
To make sure it's working.
Well, I think they got a new generator.
Did they get a new one? Okay.
I can show you right now if you want. All right, a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll go check that out in a little bit. We'll just want to make sure that the oil's good in it and all that stuff. Because you're going to need that. Yeah. You absolutely need the generator for how loud it has to be compared to the band. For indoor, it's not such a big deal because you don't have to blast the subs and everything near as hard. But for outdoor, I know that especially Kent is going to want some of that sub bass. So, yeah. So the Whirlwind PowerLink. Good stuff. Yeah, so let's get that whole block.
Hold this. Yeah, it's getting in the way.
And that, let's route that around the rack space there, that long cable. So yeah, just do. Okay, so this is going to be our in-depth walkthrough. The batteries on my camera started to dip pretty low earlier in the day, so I stopped recording the work process, and I thought I would do just a really in-depth walkthrough for everybody at home and the directors here, because it's a lot. This is not a basic setup. This is a more advanced setup for sure. So we'll start with the keyboards. So this marimba, as we covered already, it's yellow, double yellow, shares a color, and that just goes to the jumper cables and straight over into the S32, which is in there, right? And then same thing for vibraphone 1, that's green, it just goes straight over. So these two instruments, they're close to the synth cart, they can just go straight in. Marimbas 2, 3, and 4, along with vibes 2 and 3, go to a modular snake, right? So the vibraphone's over here, the signal goes this way, goes to a set of buffer cables, or jumper cables, which is here, and then those two are going to plug into those two. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And then it all comes in to right here, and I plug those in just to measure, make sure there's enough slack. I re-zip tied this earlier today, this block, and you've got your red snake, and that goes all the way over. So all of the microphones for this side of the pit just goes through the mod snake. That's the easy part.
Yeah.
That's the more simplistic part. So with the drum set, as we were discussing a second ago before I got the camera, when you get the mics, just like we did with the shotgun mics, we're going to want to color code the mics. And I can walk you through how to do that when you get them. Just give me a call.
Yeah.
And the cables that go from this mod snake to the mics, obviously are going to be color coded, but they stay plugged into the mod snake all the time, so that when you're clipping the mics on at the beginning of a rehearsal, you just grab this, and then you color code the cables to where they go, kind of lay them around, and then this will go, down there when you set up, and you run the mod snake. And so I would again advise having like a Velcro loop or something, or a cable cuff to hang them here, so that you can easily move without dragging cables on the ground. Again, video call me for that.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy to help. And then with the shotgun mics, we've got all the cables laid out. For those, everything is color coded, so we've got blue on the end, blue on the stand, blue on the cable. And all 5 of those are going to go on whatever yard line they're going to go on. Again, I would keep it red, white, blue, yellow, left to right across the field, so that you know what's where. And then the shotgun mic cables are going to come in and connect here. The drum set modular snake, so the mod snake for the drum set, I colored orange just to keep it unique, goes here. And then we have our wireless units, again, one of which will have 2 transmitters going to it at different times. We don't like to do that, but sometimes we have to. And then we've got the wireless stuff coming into the Focusrite, the first 4 channels. We've got shotgun, 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 shotgun number 5, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, 7 channels for drum set, all right here. We're going to have 8-at optical going from the Digimax into the 8-at 9 through 16 of the Focusrite, and then the Focusrite is going to go into the laptop, and they will be using Cubase this year to process all of that audio digitally. And then we've got 2 MIDI controllers to play some virtual instruments and do trigger samples. All of that going through the computer. And then we have 4 separate outputs from the Focusrite. So again, we've got shotguns, drum set, wireless, and synth all going into the laptop, coming out of the laptop. 4 individual outputs, which come out here, and those go into channels 13, 14, 15, and 16 on the S32. And these are all 1-to-1 in the mixer up there. So like channel 16 here is channel 16 out there. And what we have here, channels 13 and 14, these are the actual like MIDI controller synth channels. So the pianos, the sound effects, all that. And then the shotgun mics, the wireless mics, and the drum set mics all come into 15, 16. And then we've got a monitor out of the Behringer here for this synth player, for the monitor speaker coming out of this thing. And then we're going to use a headphone jack out of the Focusrite to go to the speaker in this second cart. And then all the way up at the front, all of that finally goes through an EtherCon cable to our Quick Connect panel, which is connected to the X32 producer. And we've got marimbas coming in channels 1 through 8, high, low, high, low. And then we've got vibraphones 1, 2, 3, and then we've got synth, and then we've got all the other mics. And then we covered a second ago iPod channel right here. And then we fixed all this stuff, recolor coded the outputs going to the RCF stacks. And that's that. Quite a walkthrough. It's a lot to soak in. I know I'm exhausted. It's a long day. I mean, we've been here since like 9:30.
Yeah, about.
It's been about 6 hours. Goodness. Yeah. So that's what's up. That's the JB Alexander setup. Really hoping, and then we went over the laptop thing. We're gonna do umbrella. We've got the laptop fan underneath. We're gonna do ice packs if we need, although make sure there's no condensation, right?
Yeah.
So umbrella, laptop fan, and then get a second fan for the top of the keyboard if you need to. Again, I know I said this earlier, but it's just super important to keep that laptop from overheating. And I think that's about it, other than just making sure that like the shotgun mics get set up consistently every time. Like I said, the yard line position is the easy part. It's the vertical where it's pointed that's the tough part, because you have to get them high enough to get over people's heads. But they still have to be pointed at the right angle. So you guys are going to have to experiment a little bit with how you want to figure that out. But just make sure that, you know, it's consistent the same every time.
Yeah.
And then same with the speaker stacks as well. We want to make sure that those are on the same yard line every time. And as mentioned, we're going to actually do the right thing this year. And I want you to get in touch with me when you're going somewhere so that we can try our best to figure out what angle each of these needs to sit at, because this was just sort of the default thing that I set it at when I first put these together a couple years ago, but it's not a static thing. They should have a little bit of give and kind of curve, you know, when you go places. So we'll look at that as well. But they're sounding great. We've got the third sub, but I don't really think they totally are going to need it. And yeah, what a day. We lucked out with the Digimax. Thank goodness they had the Digimax. So I am definitely ready to head on home. So the bulk of the day was definitely spent trying to figure out how to do certain things. I'm not usually one to run so much stuff through a computer, through a laptop, but the lead show designer really wanted them to take and make use of a lot of the software that they've invested in. So that was the plan. You know, my job is to please the client, and in this case, that involved setting up a whole bunch of routing and cabling and stuff to get audio into a laptop. So we'll see how it goes for them. There is a contingency plan if the laptop just is not going to work for whatever reason. The main thing I'm worried about, as you may have picked up on in the video there towards the end, is the heat. But who knows? I think they're going to do a good job. They seem to know the importance of keeping that thing cool. I'm going to keep the outro here pretty short. If you have questions about this particular setup, let me know in the comments down below, because it was a bit convoluted, even for me, throughout the day, trying to figure out what we were going to do with just what we had. And so I'm definitely tired. Definitely glad to be back home up in Dallas. I'm actually headed down to another job right now. It's a couple days later. I had to rest when I got home before finishing the video. But there you have it. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I will see y'all in the next one, and I'm sure it's going to be great.